شنو مواد؟
Hey, good
Ce
morning.
faci?
Bine, bine. Voi ce faceți?
Hai că îți stă părul bine.
Da, trebuie puțin aranjat, dar ce m-am trezit.
Okay, so Dennis, I think we can start. We can start the meeting. What times I think you're in Colorado, right?
Yeah, it's 8 a.m. So,
Okay,
yeah,
so
it's
I hope
I just
I
woke
hope.
up like 1 hour ago, so it's fun.
All right, all right. Well, I think you have exciting news to share. So the exciting news will wake you up and give you energy, and also to the people tuning in and listening to the pitch. So with this being said, I think Dennis, it's what, the third, fourth time you're pitching with us. So you're already quite familiar with the SeedBlink crowd and people that you know and have, I think you've raised already around 500,000 from more than 100 individuals
Yeah,
over the past 2-3 years. So
yeah,
with this being said, I wanted, to give you the floor to maybe tell a bit the story of how you ended up doing this crazy dream of Hyperloop and bringing it towards reality, especially for people that don't know you yet. And then we can if you can go a bit through Swisspod's pitch, and then we'll also take question and answers in the second part of the meeting.
perfect. Thanks a lot, Eric. I have some slides prepared, so if you don't mind, I can share my screen and I can actually start the pitch. And I can tell the story of um, how I started inside of the pitch. So just give me a
Please do.
second to share my screen. So can you see?
Yeah, it works.
Can you see now the slides like well?
Yeah,
Is it well?
yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Eric. So just to tell you a few words about why we do this and what's actually the challenge of Hyperloop. So in 2023 there have been 3.7 billion passengers that they have been boarded by the global airline industry, which is huge. That translates into 100,000 flights in a single day. That has an impact of 6.4% on the global warming, which makes the nowadays aviation sector to be inconvenient, unsustainable, and not really that comfortable. So for that, we came up with a new concept, which is called Hyperloop, which is the fifth mode of transportation. There is a vacuum tube. So inside of a steel tube, imagine that, you have some pumps that are extracting the air from inside, and you have levitating capsules going at the speed of sound inside of those vacuum tubes. And you can ask me like, why is this happening, and why do you have to remove the air inside? Why do you have to build a tube? Why do we have to invest so much money in this infrastructure? Well, the answer is very simple. By removing the air from inside, you not only that you allow like higher speeds to travel in, but in the same time the energy consumption for such mode of transportation, thus the CO2 emissions, are much lower. So the selling point for the Hyperloop sector is that this mode of transportation will have a much better energy consumption and CO2 emissions at very high speeds. We're talking about 1.2 thousand kilometers an hour. Of course, this mode of transportation is going to be safer because we're running inside of a constrained environment. There is no way that any kind of external perturbation can come in and affect the system inside. So if we access 10% of the aviation sector, we believe that we can have an annual drop of 1.2% in terms of global warming in the next 10 years. So the story started back in 2015. I've been doing this for 9 years. It's been an incredible journey, but everything started like kind of randomly. I was a bachelor student. I was a bachelor student in Bucharest, and I was up for new challenges in my life. And SpaceX launched a competition, and Elon said, well, I'm going to build a 1 mile vacuum tube, and you guys who want to come and join the competition, build a capsule that could fit inside of this vacuum tube, and let's see who is coming with the craziest design of the vehicle. So there was a person, one of my best friends nowadays in the States, and he created a subreddit, and he asked everybody who wants to build a team which is based on Reddit. And I was one of the persons saying I'm up for the challenge. So we've been like 20 co-founders building this team online already. We don't know each other. It was a crazy story. We started to design our vehicle online. There've been like 10,000 teams registered at competition. Teams like MIT, Stanford, like big university in Europe, like Delft, like Munich. And we started to design the capsule online. We qualified in the final of 100 teams, and we actually won the competition of design. So we won the first place for the best design award at this competition. And we had an amazing interaction with Elon. One couple of months after I moved to the States, I moved to the Bay, where we actually built a vehicle. And the vehicle was like kind of like so difficult to be built, and we tested it like 1 year later with SpaceX. And at the final stage of competition, there were only 25 competitors, and we won again the innovation award at the testing competition. I came then to Switzerland, where I got my PhD in Hyperloop as well at the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in Lausanne. And I created a new team that would compete again for a competition that eventually won again the competition. So at that moment, I decided to step back from the competition, and during my PhD, I created Swisspod. So our mission as a company is basically to build vehicles that could run both in existing infrastructures of high-speed railway systems and in Hyperloop systems as well. We're not an infrastructure company. I'm going to be very clear with that. We don't really need billions to get our R&D done. We are a vehicle provider. We like to represent what Airbus or Boeing represent for the aviation sector. We're not, for instance, we're not building airports, right? We're not building infrastructure. We're not building like stations. We're just building the pods. We're building the aircrafts, and we're here to partner up with high-speed rail concessionaires and manufacturers and local governments. So what makes us unique, it's basically the technology. We have a fully passive infrastructure for high-speed transportation systems. Nowadays, in any guided transportation systems, you either find magnets, electromagnets, or electrification on the rail. What we have done, it's a new type of propulsion levitation system which sits on the vehicle itself and have good performances at high speeds. This is unique about us, and we have filed 5 different patents worldwide. In terms of the business model, we have 3 different verticals where our main vertical is to be a vehicle provider. We just signed a letter of intent with SBB, the local Swiss railway provider. And they intend to acquire from us something like 10 to 20 vehicles in the near future, where we can actually transport passengers in an upgraded railway system at better speeds and a better energy consumption with lower cost. In the same time, we signed an MOU with the government of India, with the Minister of Railways, and we'd like to license our technology in India and to create a joint venture with a local team over there that would enable the third vertical on the business model. So that is going to be switched in the next couple of years. And the first one is, of course, this new mode of transportation needs feasibility studies, and we're here also to offer those services for PPP models on infrastructure designs. I just wanted to show you like few numbers about new infrastructures happening in the world. So we're talking about trillions of US dollars, especially in Europe and in the Middle East area, as well as most of them happening actually around UAE, which is one of the most interesting states for us at this moment. And as well as, believe it or not, Northern Africa, and mainly in Egypt. Egypt is developing, I think, in terms of the per capita, it's one of the largest countries in the world developing new infrastructures. However, we're very close now to go to the market with our technology in India that would connect a new stretch from Noida International Airport to Delhi at a speed of between 300 and 400 kilometers an hour. The stretch is going to have 80 kilometers, and we expect to have 12 million passengers that will travel annually between those two places. What is interesting is that the airport is going to be operated by Zurich Airport that we have a partnership with. And our Indian partners is going to be Ministry of Railways and the local Hyperloop team in India that would license and will help manufacturing those vehicles we promised. However, how did we get there, and where we are in terms of the development of the technology? We just built in Switzerland the Europe first Hyperloop testing facility. And this has 40 meters in diameter. It's been fully funded by the Swiss government. There is a special program. I'll be happy to talk about that. That's how the capsule looked like inside. So, of course, this is with the tubes open, but the tests were done in a closed environment. The maximum speed that we achieved with this propulsion system was 250 kilometers an hour, and the distance was 12 kilometers. However, it's still a reduced scale model. We've done actually 82 successful tests in Switzerland, and the equivalent for the full-scale model would be that the total tested distance would be like 1.4 thousand kilometers at speeds of 400-500 kilometers an hour. However, in that facility, it doesn't fit, passengers don't fit. Therefore, we built here a full-scale testing track in Pueblo, where I'm actually now, and this is together with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. The construction is ongoing. This is going to have a 1.6 kilometer closed loop. You'll see very soon the whole design of it. And this is a picture I took yesterday. So we just approved the extension of 250 meters of track, and this would bring us to become the largest Hyperloop test track in the world, actually passing China. Which is extremely interesting because this has been actually developed with private money. So we've put a lot of emphasis in the full-scale model we are developing now in Colorado. The first test that is going to happen is going to be a technical platform. So that's how it's going to look like, where we're going to benchmark the whole propulsion system at high speeds. And the whole closed-loop system is going to have 1.6 kilometers. It's going to look this way. We have like various phases that we want to accomplish with it. And but the final one is going to be a closed loop ellipse system. So far, we raised from grants 8 million Swiss francs. We closed our seed round at 3.1. We have a pre-series A round open, which is going to be a total of 7 million Swiss francs. We have 200,000 available on SeedBlink. That's how we project our sales in the next couple of years. So we're going to get started in 2025 with our first revenue in terms of providing our technology to the Indian government, and we expect a growth by Q2 next year of 2x in terms of valuation. The team is great. We've been the same people for 4 or 5 years already, so the team is consistent. We've been doing, I think, a great work given also the resources we had. So I think was really great that the team it's one of our strengths. As well as the board, our newest board member, it's Felix Porsche. He's the son of the chairman of supervisory board of Porsche. We have Luis and Robert that joined. Luis was the chief revenue officer at a company that's been brought publicly. Robert was the CFO of Novartis. The two co-founders, so Tiris, which has a lot of expertise in new infrastructures, and Mark, that he came from the university. We have a lot of partners worldwide on all continents from Europe to US and Asia. Again, we raised so far 6.7 million in equity, 8 million in grants, and now we're looking to raise another 3 million during this round, where initially 200K is going to be available on SeedBlink. In case this is going to get successful, we're going to extend probably the round on SeedBlink as well. So yeah, that's been my my pitch. Thanks a lot. There have been many slides, and there are probably many kind of like things which are not clear, but I try to stay on time. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Denis. I think the typical question that raises is, there were a lot of extremely well-funded competitors in the market. So I think the first question is, why didn't they succeed, and why? What do you think, is your recipe for success?
Well, I think there is a whole. I think this question it's mostly addressed for Virgin Hyperloop One. I had the opportunity to meet twice in the last 2 years Richard Branson. We negotiated with him also Series A investment, and we had this discussion about Virgin Hyperloop One and what happened. So for those who are not aware, they raised $500 million US, and they stopped the operations. I think, in my opinion, it was too much too soon. I mean, they raised $500 million at the valuation we're at nowadays, which is close to $50 million US. Therefore, DP World kind of bought 95% of the company, and they were kind of leading the company. They wanted to DP World being kind of a logistics company, and Virgin was actually marketed as a passenger transportation company. They haven't really found a way to accommodate the technology for both use cases, because their technology was very different than what we did. Their technology was kind of a maglev system in a vacuum tube, and that was not extremely efficient in terms of cost, in terms of operating the technology. So what we did was, in our case, we found a way to use the same type of platform. That's why, I've shown you the picture with that in that slide with the vehicle traveling inside of the full scale. It's not going to look like a full scale, but it's more like a platform that could transport on top both passengers and freight, and that's kind of the selling point in our case. I also believe that maybe people in Middle East wanted to go so fast in the market, and they kind of started to be involved in the operations of the company, not always taking the best decisions. I know very well their former CEO, Jay Wilder, that I've been in touch with, and he was unhappy on the way the board and the shareholders would intervene in the operations of the company. In the same time, I think the team was not that engaged and not that motivated. I think they became very early, they became kind of a type of corporation, and the whole inertia of the company was high. So I think there have been some key mistakes that they've done in the past as a company. They're a great brand, and they're a great company. However, if you ask me if I know what to do with $500 million nowadays, I would answer you in a very sincere way that I wouldn't know. Probably we know what to do with 20, 40, 50 millions nowadays, but we don't really know what to do with $500 million. And they raised $500 million at the valuation we're at, more or less at the same stage. They're like testing something, reduced scale, and they're moving to a full scale model. So they invested in the same time plenty of money into the marketing. So the track we're building now is going to have soon 430 meters. They build with $500 million only 300 meters, but they forced a lot of investments into the safety of transporting passengers into these 300 meters. But the challenge would have been more to solve the technology and then to move to the safety. Of course, we are planning to move passengers inside of our tube, and that's something we're aiming for, but I think it needs to be done at the right timing. So there have been some kind of timing issues that happen in Virgin, in my opinion.
All right, and in terms of in terms of, let's say, go to market, so you guys already have the testing facility in Switzerland, and you're now probably staying until Christmas in the US. Tell us also a bit more about what's happening in the US and the collaboration that's going on also there with the Army.
Well, I think the Army played I wanted to clarify that, a crucial role on our operations. So we had a competitor in Switzerland that tried to do a full-scale infrastructure, and they've been actually supported by the federal government. However, they haven't managed to get the permissions done in time, and they promised that in 2017, and it's 2024, and it never happened. And we couldn't, as a startup, we couldn't risk this timeline. So we couldn't risk, we had to move like very fast. And we discovered this place, we talked with the army, and they gave us permission in a week after we applied. So the permission is given for the full track. Once we have the accounts, the money in the accounts, we can actually extend more and more the testing track. And that's a crucial. That's been a crucial role they played for the development of our company. The people are also very supportive. The testing track, it's located in Pueblo, Colorado. It's like, let's say the GDP per capita of this town is not that high. Therefore, we could also find kind of qualified work coming from Colorado Springs and doing it at the labor cost of Pueblo, which is great for us. And people are super motivated to kind of make Pueblo, to put Pueblo again on the map, because in 70s Pueblo was a great place for steel mill, and NASA had testing here, and Department of Transportation, Department of Defense, they had testing tracks here, and they still have. So it's still a great place to build new types of transportation systems. So I'm here to support. We have an event on 20th of November. We expect to have the governor of Colorado coming. And I'm here to enable people more, and to kind of encourage people more, and to be close to our operations. We've been yesterday to our testing track. We spent the whole day over there with the contractors, everybody, planning the next month. So we are kind of on a race. We expect to have those 430 meters ready by March next year. And it's a huge challenge, but I think the timeline is going to be realistic. So we have also a team, and we're expanding our team here in Pueblo, where we'll also manufacture our vehicle. And I want to make sure that everything is in place, and everything is happening in a correct way. Of course, there have been also some investors around Colorado and in California that I've been in touch with. And I'm planning also to travel over there. So it's kind of multi-objective travel, both for the R&D of our tech, and at the same time to meet a couple of investors here.
All right. And in terms of fundraising, so you've mentioned that you're not looking for 500 million, but at the same time, so you're currently looking for around 3 million Swiss francs. Where does this get you, and what are the next steps in a context in which this is a long-term game?
So with these 3 millions, we'll get to extend our test track to 700 meters. Having the test track for 700 meters, we'll be able to test full scale, full scientifically approved the propulsion system, not the full product yet. And this would bring us to completion of 50% of the track. And this is going to be the milestone for our Series A. And for the Series A, we're planning to raise around 20 to 25 million Swiss francs to complete the whole track and to ensure the safety for our vehicle. And that's going to be our Series A probably next year, like mid of Q2 next year. That's what we expect. So most of the capital is going to be invested in the R&D of the full scale here in Colorado, and some of it is going to be invested in the go-to-market strategy as well. So those are the two most important activities we do nowadays in Swisspod.
Can you also let us a bit what concerns you at this point in time, or what are the topics that you wake up during the night and you think about?
Well, what concerns me, I think that's a good question. I think what concerns me, I've been always telling to the team that we compete with ourselves. We don't compete with our competitors. We mostly compete with ourselves. And we proved that in the past. I think all competitors, they have at least 3 years ahead of us. We've been incorporated in 2019. They've been all incorporated like 2016 or before that. But still, we're the first hyper company in the world coming with a relevant test, with a relevant now testing track here in in Pueblo, and we're always showing progress every month, every year, and probably that's one of the reasons we're always on SeedBlink, so we can always claim the progress we have done and ask for more our partners. So that's something which makes me stay awake. It's how to make the team, how to keep actually the team motivated and compete more and more with themselves. So I think that's very important. It's as you can imagine, running such a startup is not really running. I mean, with no offense, but like no running like kind of an app company or software company on the phone and making an app. So this involves a lot of hard work, a lot of production, manufacturing, painting, assembling, hardware, heavy stuff, cranes, and all that. So as a startup, it's always a challenge to keep costs low and costs reasonable, and that's something it keeps me awake during night, as well as the runway. I think the runway is my biggest nightmare. So it's something that, you know, I actually being jet lag here. I've been I woke up around 3 and then I wanted to sleep a bit more, and then the last part of my sleep was dreaming about the runway. It's like it's such a crazy thing, and that keeps me awake every night. Now, in terms of the external factors, I think what is kind of annoying this period of time is the U.S. politics. That's something which is very unstable and very polarized, very kind of crazy. So that's also kind of an external factor, but I think that's going to be fine. I think people here are very eager to make things done. But yeah, mostly, I mean, even though we have a good runway nowadays, I want to improve that always and always. We want to invest more in the infrastructure that kind of is the enemy of our runway. So it's always this kind of game, like, which keeps me awake every night.
All right. And in terms of business development, you know, I think that when we first started working together, or 3 years ago, business development was like, okay, this guy is crazy. He's never going to make money out of. He's never going to make money out of this. And somewhere this year, you started having, you know, some first initial revenue, and you hired someone also to spearhead these business development efforts. How do you see somehow, you know, the momentum that is being built over the past 9 months into the business development efforts, and what are your, let's call it, bets over the next 18 months, in terms of project, in terms of things that you know will bring you from stage A to stage B?
Well, I think that's really great. I have to tell you, it's been really great. I think there've been a lot of opportunities in the last year coming. I think like 3 years ago, you know, honestly, we didn't really know like what the business model is. It's, you know, like investing in a company like Swisspod, it's by far not investing like in US bonds, giving you an example, right? I mean, just to clarify that point. However, you know, I think the first thing that we put together very well and that changed things was the board. I think we kind of put in place a good board. We have people in sales, people in finance. We have people like Felix that has a lot of historic in terms of transportation. We have an infrastructure expert in the board. So I think the board discussion started to be much more interesting. And, you know, every month we have a board call where we are always analyzing, you know, things and see the way we go forward. And I think that changed a lot the way we operate the company. And this hiring more people on the business team, I think that was a consequence of the board, of the like more on the of the people of sales and finance, that they said, I think we need to invest money into that. And I think after 1 year now we could see already results. So while last year we had almost kind of no opportunities or no potential clients, I think what's interesting is that starting with this year, we signed a memorandum of understanding with the Swiss railway provider, with the Ministry of Railways in India. We have a great opportunity now coming with the Etihad Rails in Emirates. We signed the letter of intent with the Colorado's government. So I think there are a lot of verticals, a lot of places in the world where people are interested to adopt this mode of transportation or use our vehicles for their existing infrastructures. And it's been just 8-9 months, not even 1 year since this started. And I think we can see clear results. It's something that made investors to increase their ticket sizes. While last year during this time we're talking about a ticket size of 200K. Nowadays we're talking a ticket of 1 million, 1.5 million Swiss francs, which is significantly increased. So probably in another 1-2 years from now, we'll see a much better and much more significant advancement in terms of the revenue projections and in terms of like how this company is going to lead the market of Hyperloop worldwide. And I'm very confident that this is going to happen. And again, I think not only the executive team but also the board put in place a great strategy for that. And we could see the results. So probably needless to say that 2 years ago during this time the board was me and my co-founder. So that completely changed like nowadays, and we have a whole dynamic happening in the board. It's interesting to watch sometimes people talking in the board. It's interesting to see debates, to see like even sometimes small contradictory discussions that would escalate a bit more. But I think that's how we can evolve. I think we shouldn't avoid this kind of contradictory discussions. We should have as many as possible of those, and that's super exciting.
All right. And I think just to clarify, because having a lot of discussions with people, there is this probably misconception in which what you guys are doing can only function if you have the infrastructure in place, and if you have vacuum tubes not flying around but spread around the continent. Can you walk us through what are the steps in terms of go to market from a infrastructure perspective, and how does this translate also in your actual services that you're providing? So what is happening today, what can happen next year, what can happen 2 years from now?
So the most serious clients we potentially have nowadays are SBB, the Swiss railway provider, and the Ministry of Railways in India. And both of them, what they want from us is to create a vehicle that can run on existing infrastructure. So they don't want to create a new infrastructure. And for us, it's just great, because creating a new infrastructure would mean another 5 to 10 years timeline, which we don't really want to get into. However, the existing infrastructure, they need a minimum upgrade, which means to have one more rail attached on the infrastructure. And that could happen in less than a year if something is serious about that. So we are planning in the next 2 years to figure out not only the way we license these technologies for them, but in the same time to create these manufacturing plants for the vehicles, where we can, for instance, I have a number in Switzerland, I'm going to talk about that. The number in Switzerland, they are looking to have, for a 100-kilometer stretch, they are looking to have 10 to 20 capsules running, and show people, and for social acceptance purposes, that this mode of transportation could be possible as well in a vacuum tube. And that's kind of the plan we have both in Switzerland and in India. So I wanted just to clarify that we are not dependent on new infrastructures. We can run our vehicles on existing infrastructures that are not significantly upgraded. So with a minimum investment in this upgrade. And we're not looking for timelines of 10 years from now. We're looking for timelines more like a year, 2 years from now on. And I just wanted to clarify this infrastructure aspect and the timeline of it. And again, we are not an infrastructure company. We don't build infrastructures. We're not dependent on infrastructures. We're not planning to develop infrastructure. We're planning to work only on the, let's call it the aircraft or the the capsule.
Thank you so much, Denis. So coming basically to wrap up today's session, I asked what are your concerns, but now I will also ask, what are the main things that excite you over the next 12 to 18 months?
Well, I think what excites me the most is the people. I think I'm when we started back in 2019, there've been some people with us, and they're the same people nowadays. And 5 years ago, this was kind of a fun thing for everybody, and we're doing this in our spare time. But nowadays, it's a full-time job where people take it very seriously, and I think that's the most exciting part. And we're really proud of what we have achieved given the complexity of it. And that's something cool in terms of technology. I think what excites me the most is I've been yesterday, to our R&D center here in Pueblo, and was a great feeling to go there, because we're running in this military base, and to get inside, all of us, we have an U.S. Army badge that we have to use at the entrance, and there are soldiers like welcoming you. And I think going there, we're kind of in the middle of nowhere. There are 40,000 acres of land, and we are using like 43 acres. So we're kind of in the middle of nowhere, and you can see like only like just flat land and a lot of cactuses and our tubes inside. So it feels we even didn't have water, and we didn't have like electricity there. So it feels like I don't know, it feels like in a movie. And also the soil is kind of a desert, so it's kind of like it gives you a special feeling, and it gives you the feeling that when we're talking yesterday with the team, that this is going to happen here. There is no place on earth that this would happen like in a different place. And I think that excites us the most. I think like we build that in Switzerland from zero, and we build this even from no electricity and no water in place, from a kind of flat land into something which is going to become soon the largest Hyperloop test track in the world, while we're running two different infrastructures in two different continents. And that's crazy, and that's again linked to the team, that it's as you can imagine, we don't really have the most competitive salaries in the industry, and probably like people in our team could have a much higher salary going at working for Alstom or Bombardier or Boeing or whatever, but they really believe into this product. They really believe into this, and I think it's all about people. I think it's all about the team we have and the excitement we have inside. Eric, you've been to our events in Switzerland. We're organizing a new event in the US, similar with the one in Switzerland. And we have during the 2 days over 200 people coming from all around the world, including Middle East, Europe, US, India. So we're preparing the same type of event, and it's going to be really great. And you've seen the atmosphere, and you've seen the people and our investors. You've seen our team, and I think that keeps us always kicking in, I would say. So yeah.
All right. Well, on this positive note, I want to thank you for taking the time, Denis. And a reminder for the people tuning in. So Swisspod's round is active for the next couple of months on SeedBlink. If there are any questions, and we will be constantly updating, with anything that's happening at Swisspod. So with Felix Porsche coming onto the board, with the team, signing this new testing facility, test track in Colorado. So all of these updates will be posted regularly on SeedBlink. And if there are any questions that you want to address to Denis and his team, feel free to reach out directly on the discussion tab on the SeedBlink campaign page, or directly to Denis and the team. So with this being said, thank you everyone for joining. And Denis, I wish you not a good day,
Thank you.
To the others, a good evening.
Thank you. Have a good one, everybody. Thank you.
Bye bye.